Hello, everyone. Thank you, my friends, for joining me today. Today, we're going to cover a very special topic that I just absolutely love to talk about. I'm just going to get right to it. Finding your life purpose. Let me hold on. Let me just. Okay. I have a mic issue. So let me get. Okay. Do you guys hear me okay now? Let me just. Okay, hold on. I just have a mic issue, so let me go ahead and fix that. Right. Okay, I think you may be able to hear me now. Okay, just make sure to comment in the comments so I can make sure that you guys can hear me. Alrighty. Okay, so I'll just get to it. Life purpose. This is one of my favorite topics. What does life purpose mean? So it's this deeper sense of direction or calling that guides our actions and brings fulfillment. So, what that means is if you're thinking about how to live your life in a meaningful way, one of the things that you think about is what internally guides me to do the things that I do. So, it's this internal drive that determines like what you do. So for some of us, it's playing golf, and maybe we're professional golfers or teachers. Audio. Thank you. All right, Jake. Audio sounds good now. Thank you. Okay, so I just adjusted everything. I'll continue here. Here also, thanks, Tom. We had a little bit of a technical issue starting out, but I'll continue. So, again, your life purpose is this deeper sense of direction or calling. And for some of us, that calling actually comes naturally. Like you've heard a 4-year-old say, I want to be an astronaut one day, or a teacher, or an engineer, and it's easy. And for some of us, we discover it, let's say in our older age or even in retirement. So think of it as one of those things that you've been always thinking about your whole life. For example, maybe you've been a doctor your whole life, and then all of a sudden, when you retire, you find out you want to be a writer. Your purpose has been to be a doctor. Maybe this is something you've discovered, but let's say you didn't know your purpose until later in life. And for example, in your retirement, you're thinking about writing a book. So, the life purpose has many different facets. It's not just one thing. I believe that it's multiple things, but it's multiple aspects that are under the one life purpose. So if it's, you have always those wonderful examples of 4-year-olds, and they know, and they always say, I want to be a veterinarian, but then they turn 17, 18, and they want to be something else. So the life purpose comes at different stages of our lives, and it's important to recognize that. Um, let's talk about why it's important to discover your purpose. So, let me ask you this: when you wake up in the morning, what do you think about? And when is that the same thought you have as when you go to sleep? Actually, let me see if Jake, if you have something to say about that. Like when you wake up, W for me, I think about it's gonna sound really weird, but I think about stories. I think about when my grandmother used to tell me stories, I think about life being one big adventure, and I always have stories in my mind. I have vivid dreams, and a lot of the times I write everything down. And then, this has been going on since I was about 10 years old, and when I reached a midlife crisis, it was a little bit sooner, I was 35, and I really didn't have the motivation to live, or like I didn't wouldn't say motivation to live, but motivation to live well. Like I just got out of bed and I counted time and I just waited to go to sleep. And this lasted for a few months. And after a while of 6 or 7 months where I was just thinking about Okay, I'm waking up, having breakfast, I'm working, and then I go to sleep. And then a year went by and nothing happened. And one day I asked myself, if today was the last day that I was alive, what would I be doing? And there's fireworks. I'm in Germany, by the way, guys. You can't see it at this window, but I saw it in the other window. So I thought about what would I be doing if this was my last day alive, and I actually have a video on that. And I said, writing. So since then, which has been about 4 years now, I have been writing every single day, whether it's for my job. I work for an agency where I ghost write books for other people, which means I pretend I'm them and I produce an autobiography under their name. And I'm working on actually two books. Then I do my own writing. I do my own writing on YouTube, even for my books. And I managed to make a living out of it. I didn't know how, but I said this is going to be my life purpose. Everything else kind of supports that. I wanted to write and help people, and that's just what I've been doing for a few years. So that's kind of how we think about it. So the other, if we go into why it's important to discover your purpose, is it gives you a sense of meaning and a sense of an inspiration to look forward to tomorrow. So it motivates you to want to get up in the morning. I mean, how many of you actually wake up in the like want to go to bed to start the day? Like for me, I love going to bed because I want to wake up in the morning, and it's a lot for people. So I want to actually ask this question: how do you feel when you're aligned with your purpose? Like, do you end up, do you actually think about that? I kind of want to hear from you because it's one of those things that are just amazing. For me, it- I end up feeling well and happy, and I think everybody around me becomes very happy. So it's important. Um, and in a deep, it gives you this calmness, I would say, like this sense of peace. And that peace is what allows us to just enjoy life. I think if we're doing something where we don't like, we're stressed and we continue to be stressed. So at the end of the day, your life purpose actually is there to make sure that you are on the path of living your life, which is actually series of experiences compounded. So your life are a series of moments that together form your life. And the dangerous part is when you don't want to wake up in the morning, or when you are counting the clock. Like, you're in the office and you can't wait to get home at 5 o'clock and you're just looking at the time, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I go home. Because when you reflect on that, it's years, and you reflect on it and you realize how much of your time you have wasted doing something you absolutely didn't want to do, or being with somebody that you absolutely didn't want to be. Jake wrote, only recently I have started to feel this way too. When I have something planned that I'm excited to do, it makes me excited to wake up and do it. J- I suggest that every time you feel excited about something, write it down, because you want to develop a habit. I mean, of course, you can't be excited all the time every day, but I always think about it like this. If I'm having a really bad day and bad moments, I try to do the thing that gets me excited to get me out of that funk or the spiral down. Because if we're too much in that period of depression or the period of stagnancy, we can't it's harder to get ourselves going into the thing that gets us excited. It's hard for us to get excited. But if we do small things every day that excites us, it's much easier to create a habit, and then it's much easier to be in the flow. Flow is something interesting. Is flow is when you're doing something without thinking about it, and flow is it's interesting because it's much easier to be in flow when you work for yourself than if you go to the office, because I think you have more distraction and it's a very rigid and structured environment. But I think that one easy way to discover your life purpose is to recognize when you're in flow. Like if there is something that makes you be in a trance, or where the thing that you do is easy. And that's the thing, is like I spend a lot of time trying to do the things that are hard, and constantly like achieving this milestone, and it took some time, and then I asked myself, what if I didn't try so hard? Would I achieve the same results? Would I Is it easier for me to live my purpose while in flow versus living my life purpose in a structured environment, or giving myself that pressure? And believe it or not, what allowed me to live my life purpose is consistency, is finding those moments of excitement, is continuously identifying those goals and values and achieving those goals. And those goals don't have to be anything big. It could be, I want to learn how to bake a cake this week, and it's going to be gluten free because I want to learn how to eat healthier. Or I want to learn how to fix a bike and fix a tire, change a tire, and get a new bike. And just see how my life changes if instead of driving to work, I ride the bike. So those goals are compounded over time, allows us to be in this constant state of inspiration, creativity, and then it becomes your life. It's a lifestyle. It's almost a lifestyle choice to be in flow, and it's a lifestyle choice to live a life of purpose. If there's Every day I think about how do I help someone, and whether it's my family members or friends, or people that I coach, I think about how can I easily live my life of purpose, and that is to serve others and to write. And it's been an interesting journey because you're constantly reminded that it's a life worth living, but it's also not easy, because I think everybody around you, or even around me, is like living very structured lives, and there a lot of people I know are pretty miserable. And if I tell them, hey, I'm living my life of purpose, or what's your purpose, they're like, dude, like, what's your question? And I always say, no, I'm just curious, like, what are you excited about? Like, what is it that you love to do every day? And they're like, I don't know. Like, I hang out on the weekends and drink, or I do what I got to do. But it's like, okay, but is it because you have to do it, or because you think you have to do it, or is it because you must? Do you have a choice? And a lot of the times we have a choice. I think the excuse is to say I don't have time, but that's a false reality, because we can easily track our time with apps, and we can see where we spend a lot of our time that's not productive. Now, sometimes being unproductive is great, because you kind of daydream, and then you relax, and then some idea comes to you. A lot of the ideas come to me when I'm sleeping or taking a shower, and I'm relaxing. I'm not really productive. So that is has value in itself. Procrastination does have value in itself, because you're relaxing your brain, and you're reorganizing information to maybe discover something. It could even be a novelty. I think Tesla every night was walking after his meals. He had a whiskey, and he walked through the forest, and just for 45 minutes thought about his inventions. That's Nicholas Tesla. So to others, it may be unproductive because he's not achieving certain goals, but he's actually reconstructing information. So I'm just going to check a couple of comments here before I continue. And I'm going to ask you guys a question. This one's a good one. But Jake, I'm so excited about this topic. It's really relevant to me right now. I love everything you're talking about. Thanks, Jake. I love it because I have also started to focus on doing things I want to do and avoiding things I don't want to do. Yes, I think that's the easiest way to get out of depression, unless, of course, you have chemical imbalance in your brain, then you need some, maybe perhaps some therapy or medication. And if it's much more difficult for you to really live your life, then absolutely those are exceptions. But it's when we start to focus on the things that we love to do and things that we don't love to do, our reality shifts. And I think it's one of the easiest way to get out of depression or just long-term um, pain and sadness. So that's great. Um, I write a lot too. I write my thoughts about that and what happens to me. Exactly, Jake. That's perfect. Walking in nature is a powerful tool for processing things. Yes, there's a forest here in a little town outside of Stuttgart. I go walking into the forest. Um, Hi, Edward. Uh, from my vacation, how are you doing? Hey, good. Where are you on vacation, Edward? Drop it in the chat. Let me continue. So, for those of you, I'm actually going to ask this question. For those of you who have discovered your life purpose, I'm curious, how do you feel? Or what was the feeling when you discovered your life purpose? Because I'm actually going to go talk about how I discovered my life purpose and the feeling I had. So I'm going to take a moment to pause here because I'm curious, like, what was that circumstance or the feeling that allowed you to understand that this was your life purpose? I know a few people who have had car accidents and they're just like, I want to help people, and they became a nurse. So that's a tragic event, but I'm curious, like, what were the circumstances? So, yeah, vacation at my parents' place, not bad, not a bad spot to be. How are you, and what's the plan for the new year? Plan for the new year. I think I'm just gonna binge watch Netflix. I think for the last 2 years, I have done absolutely nothing on New Year's Eve. I think I read a book. I like to read books. So one New Year's Eve, I think I cooked and read a book. This year, I think I'm going to, I don't know, go to the forest and then binge watch Netflix. So I'll explain to you that how I felt when I discovered my life purpose. And it's funny. My grandmother was a teacher. She passed away a few years ago. My mother was a teacher. My mom is still alive, but she no longer teaches. And I remember thinking that a teacher is someone who teaches children because both my mother and my grandmother taught children. And I always said, I'm not going to be a teacher. So I went into hospitality industry, I went into construction, I went into the travel industry, I went into the tech industry, and I became self-employed. I went into coaching industry, which is kind of like teaching. And then I went on YouTube and I realized that's education. So I am a teacher. But I thought that teachers are, they go to school and they teach little children, but I realized you can teach adults too. Like it's totally fine and it's kind of funny. So the moment that so that's an example. So that's setting the context that um I realized throughout my life that what inspires me is I love sharing knowledge and coaching and helping people. And that's sort of what my mom and my grandmother did. And fast forward, I'm about 35 years old, and I'm living in Irvine, California. So I'm right by the beach in one of the most expensive neighborhoods, and I absolutely love Irvine, California. It's Orange County, and I didn't like the house or the roommates I was having, but I had a beautiful house with a couple of roommates. The backyard about one street over was burnt because there was a forest. There was a fire, and it came from the California, Wyoming, Washington fires. So I was in Wyoming prior to sorry, not Wyoming, Washington. I was in Washington, and there was a fire in Vancouver, Washington. I flew to California. I settled in Irvine, and then there was fires in Newport Beach, and there was another fire in Irvine. And I was like, oh my God, for 6 months, it's constantly like there's always fires and I couldn't breathe. And I was living in this Airbnb in California in this house with five male roommates. Now, I don't know if y'all lived with five male roommates, but you can just imagine the cleaning and cooking situation. No bueno. And I was going to the pool, which was on the property. And I was like, okay, I'm going to the pool. And every day was great. I sunbathed, but I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm, in this Airbnb. The sun was nice. I was in a pool, but I didn't have a sense of meaning or reason to get excited. So I ended up, I don't even know how I did that, but I think I ended up walking around the neighborhood a lot. And then I somehow got in contact with somebody in my network, like an acquaintance. And I was telling him, like, I don't know what to do with my life. It's not going great. And he asked me, like, what do you love to do? And I said, well, I like to write. So he said, just write every day. And that's what I did. And I still didn't know that was my life purpose. But what I was writing, uh, while I was writing, I was helping people understand how to write or answering questions about writing. So I was helping people. And then I realized, well, my life purpose is to write and help people. So I that's what I knew was happening. But what made me realize the life purpose was the one question you have to ask. And that is, if today was my last day alive, what would I be doing? Because I think that that's how I figured it out. And it was that. That was so I'll pause here for a minute because then we're going to talk about uh, how self reflection is important because it helps you define your life purpose. Edward, I think my purpose is to help others. I discovered that, but I'm only doing that with the people I like. Interesting. Interesting to think about it. So, when you say helping people that you only like, I could understand that. I have a theory that you could help people only those that are ready to receive help. It's very difficult to help people who don't want it because you're almost imposing or preaching. So I help people who want help. So yeah, that's kind of the modification there. But that's great reflection. Why do you like writing so much, Tom, our fellow writer? Because I think ever since I was a 3 year old, I uh, I think I was always an artist, and an artist expresses, and that is whichever means possible, like modality. So it was painting, writing, acting. I mean, I look at pictures of myself when I was little, and I was like weird. I was always my parents took pictures, and I was like, or I was like doing crazy expressions and like, and my mom said I was constantly writing. And I think writing is a form of therapy. It's my self expression, it's my life purpose. And writing, the written word transcends time. So when I'm basically not going to be here, my words will, my reflections, my wisdom. And I think writing is great for mental health. And there's so many reasons why I want to write, and I just named a few. And it gives me a sense of peace more than anything else. And that's why I think that I do it because it leads to sustainability. And your the purpose of your life is what is it that you do over a long period of time? And that helps you stay sustainable or alive. I hope that answered your question, Tom. This is really inspiring. Thanks, Edward. Thank you for dropping some chats here, some comments. I loved your video about the last day alive video. Yes. Um, I think it's just really saved me. It's unfortunate. I know people who have tried to commit suicide, and I always wonder, like, what were the could it have been prevented, or what was going through their mind? And what I do understand, or I could imagine, is that if you have such a strong will to end your life, you must really not have a reason for joy. Like, happiness is intrinsic. It's not, okay, I get a car, I'm happy. No, it's just what brings us joy. And I think that when you have such courage to end your life, you must probably lose two things: hope, uh, and joy, that inner purpose. That's and purpose and joy are different, but they're related. So I think that's just how I've learned to understand it. Um, what else? Two different people gifted me journals for Christmas. I love journals. I have two journals in my bedroom. Yes, I have probably had 20 or 30 journals in my life that I filled up. Sometimes the negative thoughts I write down and I just burn the paper. I have 3 new journals. I fill them all. I actually published a journal for women on Amazon where they can jot down their thoughts and activities. It's called Fly My Lady. Yes, we all have something in depth to sustainably maintain. Yep, inner purpose is what we want. Yeah, because it's at the end of your life, it's you against you. And my grandma is in hospice right now, and she's been there for a year and a half. And most people, like, hospice is end of life care. So this is where once you can't take care of yourself, and then the hospitals transfer you to a hospice, which is like the place you go to die. And I think the reason why my grandmother's alive, that she has her two boys or her son that visits her, and she has a wonderful community, and like she has people around her that love her. So she's just not going anywhere. Um, so my grandmother's going to be 90, and her purpose is to just, I think, is relationships. I think that's what's keeping her alive. Is she can't wait to see her son that visits every week. My dad visits, I think, twice a month, and she has this sense of belonging, and she has a uh nice facility where she's staying. She's very lucky. So I think she's good. She just celebrated her 90th year, but she's in a hospice. Like, imagine. Some people, I just say, they're not going to go, which is great for her. So let's continue. Self-reflection. I think that the way to discover to discover life purpose is that it's it's something that you intrinsically know, or it's something that just happens to you, like an aha moment, like, today I'm going to be an actress, or today I want to decide I'm going to be a doctor. And then it's a thought, and then you act on that. So those are like the two ways that you discover the life purpose. And there's a third way, which is spending a lot of time reflecting. And this is what we're going to talk about next, because reflecting on what it is that you do and what is holding you back and why do you do it, ultimately you're going to discover some habits and be like, okay, I think I see a pattern here. And actually, your friends will also tell you what your life purpose, because um, since I was a teenager, I have this one friend, and she kept saying, "You're a good writer. When is it that you're going to write a book?" It took me like 10 years to write a book. Why didn't I write books sooner? Because I thought that writers couldn't be happy or could be successful, because that's what I heard from my parents. And then in my life, it's been a cycle of 10 years. So when I was 15 and 16, I was writing, then I abandoned it. And then I became a self taught journalist at 26. I abandoned that. And then I started writing books in mid 30s. So for me, it's like a cycle of 10. I've had 3 cycles, and I realized the common denominator is writing. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. And for those of you that need help structuring your books, I'm happy to help you with that, because I do one on one coaching as well. So, reflection. Self reflection is the first step in understanding your life purpose. This is really important. I agree that it's your first step, but it doesn't have to be your first. It could be one of the steps because, like I said, it could be a tragedy or aha moment or your friends telling you what you're good at and because they observe you, so and you should think about asking yourself a deeper question, like what exactly excites you, as I mentioned earlier, on a day-to-day basis, and what activities make you feel alive, because our life is a series of moments compounded, and they lead to sustainability. So sustainability is joy, being alive and healthy. What is it that gives you that push when you wake up and when you go to bed? I think I'm a little bit crazy because sometimes I'm excited to go to sleep so I could wake up and write and help someone. It's weird. It's super weird, but I've been like that, I think, for 15 years now. I mean, yes, 4 years ago, I discovered my life purpose that I consciously was aware of. But prior to that, I've been kind of doing things without really understanding what I've been doing. So, um, but this began with me pursuing an interest of mine. Yes, again, going back to what excites you. Um, I found my first real, so Jake said, I found my first real mentor, somebody that believed in me and gave me amazing opportunities to learn and grow. Yes, I have many mentors. Each mentor serves a specific function. I have a mentor that helps me understand my values and business and the context of uh, life purpose, actually. I have another mentor that helps me navigate challenges, personal and professional. And I have another mentor that's someone with whom I just do talk therapy to help me regulate my nervous system, and somebody who's very nurturing and loving. And so they're actually, the one who's very nurturing and loving spent 4 hours on the phone with me and giving me the fuel that I needed to start the YouTube channel, because I didn't want to, I was kind of nervous about it. And we were talking from, I have a hair. We were talking from, I would say, Sunday 10 p.m. until 3 a.m. Monday, and I go to bed at 9:30. And she was giving me all the reasons why I should start the YouTube channel. And actually, it's helping me carry out my purpose. So, mentors, because we have our own blind spots, and mentors help us see our blind spots, and they help us guide us through the tough times, because sometimes our tough time kills our dreams, kills our purpose. Um, so it's really important uh, to really to have that mentor. But this began with me pursuing an interest of mine. Yeah, when I got my mentors, I asked for them. They didn't just come to my life. I mean, I had to be ready, and I asked for them. So absolutely. A lovely smile can light the way and brighten days in a lovely sway. A gentle heart with love so true can fill life's moments with beauty anew. You're so cute. Thank you. I love the poetry. Now I believe in myself more and more each day, says Jake. I'm grateful that I value myself. Yes, it makes life easier. Edward, but it is harder to sleep if you are excited, right? Yes, good question. Um, good question. Actually, so when, let's see, I have that challenge too sometimes. Like I'm so excited that I'm on like an adrenaline rush and I have to manage that. That's why I have another channel where I practice yoga or meditation, because that's when I can kind of relax a bit and uh, come to a grounding. Because as somebody who has ADHD, I tend to quickly get hyper focused on something, and then I don't know when to stop, and I don't have that rest period, so I crash and burn and hit burnout, for example. So it's like really important that I allow myself to rest. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let me just actually grab something. All right. Just had to grab my plug. All right. Okay. So now I believe, so Jake said, I believe in myself more and more each day, and I'm grateful. I value myself, Edward, but it is harder to fall asleep. I've answered that question. Thank you for all that you're sharing, Alice. I love this conversation. Have you done and read Inner Engineering? No, but please share a link. That sounds interesting. It's probably working out the subconscious mind, I'm guessing. I also need more time to fall asleep because I'm thinking a lot before bed. Okay, meditation. So, the way that we can meditate, very quick 10-minute exercise is and I did this on a live stream before. So, you inhale for 3 seconds or five. So, you inhale, hold for five, or hold your breath, and you exhale for 7 or 9 counts. Or you can inhale for three, hold for three, and exhale. The point for seven. The point is to inhale faster and exhale slower because it quickly calms your nervous system. So I recommend that. Um, let's continue. So reflection. Uh, One of the things we mentioned, actually now, Jake, you've mentioned you journal. When we journal or meditate and have quiet reflection, it can help us uncover hidden desires and things that we have missed. So when you set time aside each day to reflect, you explore what resonates with you. For example, what made you feel upset and why, and what made you feel happy. And in this self reflection, in this journaling, you start seeing that sometimes you're living out your trauma or you're living out that wounded inner self, and that it has really nothing to do with you. It has something to do with your traumatic event that happened in the past, that's actually keeps you in this feedback loop and prevents you from doing what it is that you love, because it's our brains are they function in a feedback loop. So we have a thought and we keep coming back to the thought, and we have to break that thought process. And the way to break any thought process is through self reflection or journaling. And one of them is journaling and meditating. Um, so I do encourage all of you to take a few moments to write down what you value the most, what excites you. And that's absolutely wonderful. Tom says, still curious on my cue about the success as prerequisites for purpose. I think I missed that one, Tom. So let me answer that. Um, so it's success as prerequisite for purpose, Freudian miss. Okay. Life purpose is what you define, and success is one element of life purpose, but it doesn't it's what you define as success, because oftentimes what we think is successful is based on what society tells us is successful. I know people are who find their life successful because they get to serve in a school cafeteria, and they serve lunch to children, and they inspired the school to get a better meal plan so children can have better meals, more nutritious meals. That to them is not only successful, but it's them living out purpose of serving others. And I know people who have been CEOs of companies and created jobs. For example, my stepfather, he feels successful that he was able to support a family of five in New York City and create jobs and have a business for 35 years in New York City. Now, he won't tell you that was his success, but we've seen it, that it was pretty successful. So, um, his purpose was to provide for the family, and his success was to sustain a business that was profitable and also to keep a marriage, being able to feed us. for a very long time. And I think that it's important that you define what success is, just like you define what is purpose. My definition of success was different. It used to be, I want to get this certain type of job, work for this type of company, and have this income. Now my success is, have I helped some, who have I helped, or um, I saved my friend's life, for example, where there was like in New York City, there was a yellow cab coming, and I pulled her out of the street and she survived. So I find that it's of course that's a huge success, is just being able to live, to be self-employed, to help others, to use the tools like YouTube to do so, to help um, save someone's life. Recently, I my friend wasn't doing so well, and he was a hardcore alcoholic. He relapsed, and I was on the phone with him for about a month, and he told me, "You saved my life." So, I didn't really. He wasn't a good friend, but I said to myself, like, "Wow!" And of course, when I needed help, the favor was in return, but it's not about that, because I gained so much more. Because I think ultimately, the success is personal relationships, and how can you sustain relationships? Because there was a Harvard study done that tracked the lives of people over a span of their lifetime. And they measured everything: health, success, relationships. And they found that the people who were happiest and lived the longest and felt successful were those that had meaningful relationships. And I believe that 100%. I think success is really probably my ability to connect with people and help people. And it's not at a large scale, but maybe it is if that person didn't take their life. Maybe it's not at a large scale for me because I don't have a nonprofit or a charity. I would love to have one, but to them, it's like a big deal. So, and I think that comes from just my early childhood education, my own struggles, and maybe my family history of teaching. I don't know. So I think I learned how to redefine success and purpose. Um, are you a writer, a failure if nobody? Okay, Tom asks, are you as a writer a failure if nobody reads it? Interesting question. Um, so a writer writes no matter what. An author. So this is a good question, because what is really the difference between a writer and an author, and who is a writer? I think a writer writes no matter what. They write, they do it for themselves, for to be read, perhaps, or not, for their own mental health. An author has a responsibility to their audience. So a I think a successful author is that if it starts with one fan. So if one person's read you, you already have success, because Jeff Bezos started having one customer at a time. He served one person at a time. And over time, he's had a lot of success. But the people who are successful in their own way, they define the impact. Again, are you helping inspire one person at a time or millions? And that's up to you to decide. Like, what is that benchmark? What is that goal for you? And that could be small or large. It could be serving one person a day, or one person a day reading your stuff, or it could be millions, or maybe that's up to you to decide. But I think an author is somebody who's read at least one. You're an author. And a writer is somebody who writes no matter what. And I think that's how other writers and authors see it that I've spoken to. So, um, uh, okay. So next, I want to talk about identifying your strengths and talents. So this comes into a nice concept called the golden triangle. Now, I thought about that in sacred geometry, the triangle is one of the sacred geometric shapes. When I think about strength and talent and purpose, or the strength and the talent, identifying your strengths and the talent to help you find your life purpose, I think about the golden triangle. So I have a piece of paper here, but this is the golden triangle. And where's my pen here? Obviously, I didn't do a good job writing. It's in this corner, it's what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what makes you money because you need to sustain yourself. If you could find what you're good at, that you enjoy, that people want, or that you're able to make money to sustain yourself, in this golden triangle, it's very sustainable. And what I mean by that is if you figure out these 3 points, life purpose becomes easier. And it doesn't have to be necessarily money. It could be any other resource. That it could be a barter. You trade goods, you trade skills, you trade something that is marketable because we live in a market economy. And I think if you that helps sustain this life purpose. It helps, and having that talent and that skill to do it makes it easier. So, um, if you do what you're naturally good at and talented, and you have that motivation, then it just becomes easier to do every day. I used to do all these things that I actually was mediocre at, and then I realized writing, I'm decent. I can make money with it. I enjoy it. So whether or not somebody reads it, um, my success as a writer is my ability to continue to learn as a writer. I am an author. I have a few books. I probably only sold 100 copies, not a lot, but maybe the 2 books that I'm writing for clients may sell millions of copies. So therefore, am I a successful author? Maybe, or maybe I'm just a successful writer or ghostwriter. So I think it's how we define success and how we measure it, how we measure that life purpose. Um, so I encourage you to reflect on skills and talents that you're good at. And if you're not sure, then you could send me an email and we can kind of discuss that. Um, so the other thing too is that your colleagues and friends will tell you what you're good at. So you can ask your friends, "Hey, what do you think I'm good at?" And their answers might offer surprising insights. I ask that all the time. When I'm lost and I'm not sure, they kind of tell me. I got a couple more points before we finish up. Do you have, let me read the comments. I forgot my glass, so I'm going to drink out of this huge water bottle. Mm. We got another poem here. I find value in art or objects that exist for no other purpose than just be. Great. It's good for mental health. I've never heard about the golden triangle. I think I started using that term. I think that I don't even know if it's an actual thing, but I've always had that in my head. We'll see if we find more information on it. Thank you for another poem. All right, clarifying your core values. Okay. What are core values? Core values are something that your parents or community passed along to you that informed, so your early education or your environment informs your values. Also, life experiences informs values, and lastly, um, different stages of your life or different relationships inform your core values. And I think I realized my core values when I was 35 because I don't think my parents. I wouldn't say that we were a household where we, sat down and talked about values. I learned it on my own through guidance. When I was 35, I had to really ask tough questions. And when you clarify your core values and you align your life purpose with your core values, for example, what do you stand for? What qualities are essential to your identity? And remember, those values are non negotiable. And when you align values with life purpose, again, it becomes easy to live life sustainably because you ideally want to be around people they don't have to be exactly the same values as you, but they have to complement your values. So if you are in a relationship, that person may not have the same values, but they may have values that align, that complement nicely with yours. So for example, if I say I value um helping people and my partner says I really don't care about helping people, that may be a problem. But what he cares about is my one of my values is to help you. So if he's helping me help other people, you see how that's um a compliment. He may not need to help people or want to, something that I that's part of my value, but because he's helping me help others, that's a compliment. If he didn't care about helping people or didn't help me, as in these stages as I'm on YouTube, these are still early days, like 7 months I'm on YouTube. And there's some hard days that I have. And sometimes I want to quit and it's a lot to do these videos, but he makes sure like if your partner makes the environment that helps you create the environment to support you, then that's great, and it could be your wife, it could be your mother or your sister and brother. So it's important to have that alignment or complementary value set. So I have to think about my core values. True. I know it comes to us later. So aligning your purpose, so to recap, aligning your purpose with your values creates a fulfilling life. When your actions reflect your values, your purpose feels more authentic. So when we do what we do according to our values, what we say or what we do feels more honest or authentic, and it feels more true to you. So many times I used to do what others people wanted me to do, and I didn't ask myself, like, is that what I really want? And is that who I am? And it's always somebody gets hurt, most of the time you. List your top, and this is a nice exercise for y'all. List your top 3 values and reflect on how they align with your current life plan. I'm actually going to do this myself because I need to do this exercise. I actually didn't do this one. So, how does your top 3 values reflect on how they align with your current life plan? I'm going to put this question in the chat because this one's a good one. All right. Now, one. So then, when it comes to life purpose, the secret that I'll tell you, it's one thing that's kind of interesting is oftentimes it's what you're passionate about. So if you are if you love fixing cars, like my brother loves fixing cars. He loves fixing engines and machines. His job, his career is working on machines, submarines. He worked on forklifts and cars. Now he works on submarines. He does the same thing as fix machines. And he's really good at it. He's excited about it. He goes after work, goes to the garage and works on machines. His life purpose is to fix and build machines. Now, they are some pretty big machines like submarines, and there's some small machines like motorcycles. So you can see how your passion can become a purpose. Passion isn't always about grand gestures, it can be small moments. So pay attention to what brings you joy, whether it's cooking, teaching, helping others, and even fixing machines. So I think it's important to think about and visualizing our future. So, what would be your ideal future if you can think about who, how do you see yourself now and in the future? Because that can clarify your purpose and set goals. And so I encourage you to imagine your ideal life. Where are you living? What impact are you making? And this has really helped me with YouTube because I see the progress on YouTube, and I absolutely love interacting with all of you and thinking about ways to come up with solutions to some problems. And I always think about, well, YouTube is a global platform, so you could be anywhere and you can talk to anyone, which is super cool. And that purpose just becomes, um it's broadened. It, having this opportunity and being on YouTube and engaging with the community gives us a broader perspective of life and a broader perspective of our life purpose. And I think that's amazing because it leads to joy and excitement and adventure and just compassion. It's a lot of fun. So I really appreciate all of you for being here today. It warms up my heart. Let's see. Do you have any thoughts about life purpose in relation to location or where a person decides to live? Good question. So I touched upon it about a few minutes ago. No, because if your life purpose is to be a writer, it doesn't matter if you live in a shoebox or a mansion. It doesn't matter. I mean, yes, every place has a vibration. Like Arizona, the ground energy is very like the desert and climate is very grounding for me, and so is Spain, living by the sea. And it's a very different energy from, let's say, like New York City. So I think that's one thing to think about is it can give a different perspective on your life purpose, but it doesn't influence your, because again, life purpose is intrinsic. So you can live in Bali or Germany, and you're writing because you doesn't matter where you are. You're still the writing, the purpose that comes from internal. It's your inner world that comes out. Um, but your environment does influence it, absolutely, because you can be, oh, if you want to be a doctor, for example, and you work in a hospital in Africa, you might have a different experience, or an AIDS clinic. And my friend worked in an AIDS clinic in South Africa, and she really became more inspired to be a doctor. And but she's always wanted to be a doctor, but she just changed her perspective on her life purpose as a doctor. It informed her purpose even more. I hope that answers the question. Thanks for the live. I have to go out, but I will see you next week, Alex. All right. Thank you, Edward. All right. I'm finishing up here. It's 5 more minutes. I'm going to close up here, but thank you. Since you're so interested in this, I'm not being personal, but for experience, how many times have you got married? Please tell us about your experiences. Haven't been married yet. Jake, thank you. Those are good thoughts. I love the desert. I want to end up living near a desert, but I'm not sure if that's where I will end up. You don't have to, it's just, it finds you. Sometimes life, we have so many ideas and plans, and then sometimes they don't work out. And so you just have to be open to receive. Hey, everyone, please hit the like button. All right, thanks. All right. What I want to also touch up on, which is in addition to visualizing your future self, the last point I want to cover today, actually, last 3 points, I'll make it quick, is um, sometimes what's holding us back from discovering our life purpose is allowing limiting beliefs to get in the way. So for 10 years, I didn't write a book because I thought I was not good enough as a writer. You only become a better writer if you write. You only become a better author if you publish more books. That's what I have to say about that. Fears and doubts block your path to your life purpose. Keep that in mind. So we have to kind of think about, how do we reframe negative beliefs into empowering ones? So replace thoughts like I can't do this with I'm capable of achieving this. Write down, this is a good question for you guys. Write down one limiting belief you have and reframe it into a positive statement. I'm going to put that in the chat because this is a good one. Okay, this is a good one. Next couple points is take action and experiment. Like I said, passions lead to purpose. Try different things. See what you're good at. See what you like. See what can sustain you. I definitely encourage you to do that. Try new things, step out of your comfort zone. Action leads to clarity. You may not discover everything all at once, but each step brings you closer to your life purpose. What's one small action you can take today to move you closer to your purpose? Think about that. And of course, seek guidance and mentors. They're really good at helping you figure out your blind spots. It's important. And the last point is live with intent. Try to spend your waking moments focusing on how you can have more joy, how you can be healthier, how you can reflect more. And I think that when you sometimes step back, it's the thing that you need to give you the fuel to launch. So my brother has this saying, sometimes my wife and I we take 5 steps back only to take 2 steps forward. But then sometimes you need to do that before you leap forward. So I hope that has helped you today. If any of you are interested in talking one on one about your life purpose or general direction in life, or actually helping you stay on top of the one goal you're trying to achieve, message me or send me an email. You know where my email's at. It's actually get by make it with Alice. Um, and most importantly, take a moment today to reflect on your purpose. What's the one thing you can do right now to begin living with intention, to become more excited about the things that you do? What's one thing that brings you joy consistently every single day? It's really important to think of that. And when you reflect on your strengths, values, and passions, you take one small step towards finding your life purpose. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for joining. I want to just finish up these last two comments. Jake, I'm working on overcoming limiting beliefs. I'm making progress. Thank you for that suggestion. Yes, it's a thing that you do every day for a long time. It's not something that you solve just overnight. When you solve one limiting belief, you discover another. I found that out. And Tom, this is all good stuff. Alice, thank you. Same values that I recognize after this session: communicate freely, present unconventional solutions, share and instigate optimism. Yes, and that's so hard to do. I think, Tom, you were well, you're an entrepreneur, and I think as entrepreneurs, we have to have a lot of dedication to optimism, because when nobody believes in you, you're the one that believes in you because you're the one doing it. And you have to believe in yourself because otherwise, nobody else is going to do it for you. And if you're not your biggest cheerleader, then nobody else is. So good insight on that. Jake, thank you, Alice. I'm really glad you're sharing. This live stream was so valuable for me. Awesome. Please share it with your friends because I'm going to be doing this now every Monday at 12 Eastern Standard Time or 6 p.m. CET. So please do share this live stream. And thank you so much. And most importantly, Happy New Year. Do the best that you can every day. Thank you all. Thank you. And see you next week.